ultimately flourish. This is the push and pull of interdependence and competition. At the grand scale, no one seems to have yet won. All parties are still here: animals, plants, fungi, bacteria. What we end up with is a sort of balance in constant motion. All of this pushing and pulling and coalescing, as I've come to understand, is a sign of tremendous biological creativity. How to get our minds around all of that complexity is the shared professional problem of science and philosophy, but also of every person who stopped to wonder. All that roiling life that won't stand still long enough for us to get a good look. Narrowing our focus to only plants seems at first sensical. That should be easier, being one thing. But that quickly proves naive. Complexity lives at every scale. Journalists in my line of work tend to be focused on death, or the harbingers of it: disease, disaster, decline. That is how climate journalists mark time as the Earth passes benchmark after grim benchmark on its way into the foreseen crisis. There's only so much of this that one person can take, or perhaps my tolerance was thin and easily worn out after years of focus on droughts and floods. In recent years, I'd begun to feel numb and empty. I needed some of the opposite. What, I wondered, is the opposite of death? Creation, perhaps? A sense of becomings instead of endings? Plants are that, given as they are to continuous growth. They'd soothed me all my life, long before studies came out confirming what we already knew: that time spent among plants can ease the mind better than a long sleep. Living in a dense city, I'd walked in the park under a canopy of yews and elms when I needed to clear my head. I'd spent long minutes gazing at the new leaves forming on my potted philodendrons when my nerves were fried. Plants are the very definition of creative becoming. They're in constant motion, albeit slow motion, probing the air and soil in a relentless quest for a livable future. In the city, they seem to make a home in the least suitable places. They burst from cracks in crumbling pavement. They climbed the chain-link fence at the edges of garbage-strewn lots. I privately delighted as I watched a tree of heaven, loathed as an invasive species in the Northeast, emerge out of a split on my stoop and grow nearly to the size of a 2-story building in a single season. Privately, because I knew this was seen as a hellish species in New York, in part because it injects poisons into the ground around its roots to prevent anything else from growing nearby, thereby securing its patch of sun. Delighted because this seems devilishly brilliant. When my neighbor cut the tree down with a machete late in the season, I understood. Still, I regarded its stump with admiration on my way out of my house every morning. It was already sprouting new green protrusions. You have to respect a good hustle. So plants seemed like the right place to land my weary apocalyptic attention. Surely they would refresh me. But I soon learned they would do more than that. Plants have, over the course of years of obsession, transformed my understanding of what life means and what its possibilities are. Now, as I gaze around the Hoh rainforest, I see more than a soothing wash of green. I see a masterclass in living to one's fullest, weirdest, most resourceful potential. To start with, a life spent constantly growing yet rooted in a single spot comes with tremendous challenges. To meet them, plants have come up with some of the most creative methods for surviving of any living thing, us included. Many are so ingenious that they seem nearly impossible for an order of life that we've mostly relegated to the margins of our own lives. The decoration that frames the theatrics of being an animal. Yet there they are all the same, these unbelievable abilities of plants, defying our anemic expectations. Their way of life is so astonishing, I will soon learn, that no one yet really knows the limits of what a plant can do. In fact, it seemed that no one quite knows what a plant really is. This is, of course, a problem for the scientific field of botany. Or it's the most exciting thing to happen to it in a generation, depending on how comfortable you feel with seismic shifts in what you once thought to be true. Now I was hopelessly intrigued. Controversy in a scientific field.